Hello, everyone, and welcome to NFTCON. Today, we're going to be having a special panel about connecting sports fans through NFTs. On stage with me, I have two special guests: Brian from Sorare, and also Cody from Fandem as well. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Michael.
Hi, Michael. Nice to be here.
Hi, excellent. So yeah, kind of like do a quick round of introductions before we kind of dive into the topics. Cody, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I'm Cody, Chief Strategy Officer at Fandem, based in Brooklyn here. We are building blockchain solutions for sports properties, gaming titles, and entertainment titles. We've been kind of quietly building over the better part of the year, about to kind of announce some of our projects and speak to a few on this panel, but been, like a lot of people, using this year to quietly build.
Excellent. Also, Brian from Sorare.
Yeah, so I'm Brian from Sorare. Sorare is a fancy football platform where you can connect and trade and play with your favorite players. We have about 200 clubs on the license right now, with more than 600,000 players playing the game. And we recently announced the Series B, where we explained that we will be replicating the model of fantasy/NFTs to other sports.
Excellent. And kind of like to dive into kind of like the first question for you guys as well is that, so within the sports industry right now, and kind of like with events as well, is that it kind of has been kind of like an area where I would say like COVID did affect some of them, but now we're starting to open back up to like events and everything. Now, how do you think that has placed the growth into how like your platforms are performing in terms of like getting fans to go digitally through NFTs? Brian?
Yeah, I think, people have, always craved for being connected to their favorite players, favorite clubs, favorite leagues, especially during COVID. There was no live events that you could go to. And, as people are more and more immersed in the digital space, they're looking for ways to connect with their favorite clubs, leagues, and players in digital space. And I think, NFTs provide that and provide a solution to that issue of connection. And so what we built at Sorare basically is a way for you to own the game, to own parts of the game, the players, and basically connect with them through their plays. And so by actually putting NFTs as in-game items within a fancy game, you can actually watch a game with real stake in the game, because you've actually collected a card of that player, and so you built a meaningful connection with that player, and that connection is a rather positive connection because you start following him in digital space, but also in real life, because you could go then travel to a physical game to actually watch him because you've built that digital connection with him.
And what are your thoughts, Cody?
Yeah, I not to pander too much to Brian, I love what they're doing, and he nailed it. They've done such a good job of putting stakes in every game and every match. Our first project will be this fall with a kickboxing league, Glory Kickboxing, internationally, and our platform's built around kind of fight nights. So they have a big fight card every couple months, and so you can dive into kind of the historical NFTs of the best kickboxing footage, but it really is leading up to fight night. How do we grow this community? How do we get them engaged so that they're also engaged in other parts of the league's business, whether that's pay-per-view purchases or going to the event, having stake in the event because they own specific NFTs. So I think that platforms like ours aren't built just for a completely shut down world. There's really interesting ways to interweave in-person stakes and get people and collectors out from behind their computer to kind of drive other business lines for these leagues, which we think is the innovative leagues are really looking at that. Like, how can NFTs how can I sell NFTs and make money off those, but how can I use them to drive other business lines, whether that is merch or attendance at events? Just having the events are a great carrot to put out in front of users as, hey, we can send you to this event, or you can sit ringside, or you can go to this event. So I think there's a lot of cool incentives that you can use in the in-person events to drive engagement around NFTs.
Yeah, and I kind of like how you guys touch on the topic of like exclusivity with NFTs, like for events and kind of like other areas too. Like thinking of it as like having, ringside tickets and everything, like those are going to be exclusive kind of like things, like even with a lot of like creators as well, like they're looking at more of like the creative side of like exclusivity, because like everyone wants the exclusivity with their clubs, with their which whoever they're following, being able to have like, let's say, a dinner with one of their favorite sports athletes, just things like that, or being able to receive a signed jersey and everything. So to kind of going to that too is like, so do you guys feel like I would say like the industry is now growing to be more adopting to NFTs and kind of like opening up a little bit more into kind of integrating it into like the real world? And where do you think that, I would say like for the next like 2 years, like where would sporting events actually integrate NFTs, whether it be ticketing or like what other use cases have you seen that are being utilized right now? Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I think the use case that are evident today are obviously collectibles and gaming, and they're going to continue push in that space because it's still very nascent and young space. After that, there's so much more potential for more use cases. As Cody mentioned, ticketing is very exciting, and I think it's not going to come in a fortnight. So it's definitely something that's going to come gradually, and we're actually discussing and talking to different clubs and leagues about ticketing. As an example, we have an NFT that is a special ticket to an exclusive experience for the Classico game, where you can have access to VIP tickets to watch the Classico, have access to the stadium before the game, and have access to potentially specific players and specific legends before the game. So this is something that's pretty exciting, I find. But these are like one-off experiences today, and I'm excited to see a platform that will become the standard for ticketing in sporting events, but also in cultural events. And then on top of that, I think there's been a lot of experiences around NFTing, I would say your trophy, your jersey, but so far I don't think there's been any that has really conquered the hearts of fans, but I'm sure there will be in the future. And so there's so many use cases that we are not thinking of today that will emerge in the next 2-3 years, and obviously with the current wave of innovation around NFTs and new entrepreneurship around NFT, I'm sure there'll be tons of interesting projects coming up in sports too.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's there's so many use cases that we're not thinking about. You nailed it. Like if you think about, it all comes back to like the rights holders and what they have the ability to do and how creative you can get with those rights. So you have the league that has certain rights, you have the team level that has certain rights, and you have the athlete that can or cannot do certain things. So there's some levels in there that haven't been cracked yet. How an athlete who may not be able to use team marks or highlight footage, like what is the long-term NFT play for an athlete? Like, like a Tiger Woods can't use Masters footage, but he could certainly go shoot putt in his backyard and NFT that. Like, what is the long-term play for an athlete? So there's all of these. The space is really how creative can you get, and then see what's resonating with the fan base.
No, like kind of like how you guys are saying, like you guys are picking like these exclusive clubs and kind of like getting the partnerships with them. How would I would say like independent like sports, I would say like sports companies, how would they kind of like integrate with you guys, or if there's a opportunity for them to integrate, or is there like a certain caliber that they would have to be at to kind of be able to utilize your platforms?
I'll start. So we think that you don't need to be the NBA to have a really powerful NFT execution. So as Fandem, we always say ad nauseum that if there is fandom around your property, then there's an NFT play. We really kind of have three. I'm sure Brian kind of understands this. We kind of have three conversations when we're talking to a sports property. It's a lot of education to start. what are NFTs? Why does this make sense for your business? One of the conversations is, hey, I just want a headline. I just want to tell people that I'm getting into this space. How do we get that headline out there? One of them is, I want that headline, but I also want that money. So a quick grab. It's not a long-term part of the business. And then the third bucket of conversation is, hey, we think this is going to be a long-term part of the business. Build that strategy for us. So we've said no to a few cash grabs, and we don't play the headline game. So it's kind of that third bucket of conversation where it's like, hey, we think that this can be a sustainable part of our business. Help us build that out. As long as somebody's thinking that way, then we're happy working with them.
What about you, Brian?
I think for us, it's we're not an open platform where you can just come as a sports organization and mint your NFTs like you could on OpenSea. We are, a fancy football game, and as part of that, we want to have a certain number of sports organization on the game, and these are the top 20 leagues in the world. So it's always been very clear that we are after the bigger leagues because that's where that's what fans want to collect, that's what fans want to play with. But obviously, once we'll have the top 20 leagues, then we'll start adding more after the top 20 leagues. So we have a lot of interest from a lot of different sports organizations, a lot of different football clubs all around the world. But right now it's the top 20, and so very, very lucky to have 200 clubs so far, about 60 or 70% of the top 20, and I think that by the end of next year we'll have the top 20 leagues and probably the top 50 football association, and I think that's big for the sports world to have such a network of sports organization working with you. And what's really important for them is how you handle the IP, how you handle the partnership. Has this been going well so far? What's your track record? And having more and more and more partners just adds to the credibility of what a company is doing, because they can always, as a sports organization, I can always call La Liga, or I can always call Bayern Munich and say, how's your relationship with Sorare going? And usually, they will always have some positive stuff to say, and that's why you can hope to have many more coming in.
Excellent. And you kind of brought on another topic. It's kind of like the IP of it as well. I think that how do you guys at Sorare handle, let's say if there's any infringement on IPs and things like that? If let's say someone steals your kind of your the IP and use it as a derivative or anything of other NFTs.
I mean, once the NFT is out, it's an NFT, so you can basically do whatever you want with it. I think what's really important is how you handle the IP of the club within that NFT, and so that's what's important for the clubs, for the sports organization. And this NFT you can use on Sorare, but you can also use in other games. You can sell on Sorare, but you can also sell in other games, in other platforms such as OpenSea, Rarible, etc. So again, it's an NFT. You can do whatever you want with it, but as long as the NFT has the right IP and respects the IP rights of the organization at the beginning, well, then it's absolutely fine. So this is basically how we do it, and most importantly, before starting any partnership, we need to make sure that the partner is well educated and understands what an NFT is and how it works, to be able to actually bring its IP on such a technology.
Yeah, those in perpetuity conversations are interesting when you're trying to educate a legal department on a deal like this. And okay, the NFTs forever? Yes, it is. It's on us, Brian, and platforms like us to make sure that, in the spirit of the partnership, that NFT goes out is exactly what we want.
Yeah, and then also, so Brian has to actually leave. But thanks for having you on. Thank you for all the insight and everything.
Appreciate it. I love what you do, Cody. I look forward to see more of the boxing. So I'll follow Fandem for sure.
Likewise, man. I'll keep playing along with Sorare.
Cool. Thanks. Thank you, Michael. Bye bye.
Thanks, Brian. So yeah, Cody, to kind of like continue the conversation of it as well. He did bring on like the IP issue, and kind of like you said that, making sure that the clubs and everyone that's associated with it are comfortable with it. In terms of kind of like making it a bigger open marketplace, a more wide open marketplace for kind of like users. Now for fans, are you starting to see like, are fans more, I would say, like educated in blockchain technology that are going into it, or are you looking at like just traditional fans utilizing it and finding a way to kind of get on board, like the ease of access to it?
I mean, ease of access is critical. You want to support the core fans first. First and foremost, they're going to have the affinity for the brand. So whether the payment on ramps are got to be clean and easy to use. Our philosophy is and what we tell our partners is we're marketing in two parallel paths. One is to your core fan base, and that's going to be a lot of hand holding, and that's going to be understanding what does your audience want, what is it like let's look under the hood at data and actually understand any data that they have, social data, engagement metrics, like where do they play. So let's understand that we can deliver something that's going to work for your core audience, and we're going to give them an easy to use way to buy and understand what they're buying and understand why it's going to hold value. But at the same time, we're going to go find the next circle of fans. We're going to go find, if we're launching with a kickboxing league, okay, we'll go find generic combat sports fans. After that, we'll go find generic sports fans. We're also going to hit the endemic NFT enthusiasts, the crypto audience, the people who just love collecting and unlocking experiences. It's the power of this, like Brian with Sorare is, you feel bought into a game. If you've got your lineup set, there's stakes with every game, with every match. And we want people to feel those same stakes with their collection. And it's just all about the experience. You don't have to be a super fan, but if you have some sort of stake in it, you're going to pay attention. So, we need to go out after the core fans, the NFT enthusiasts, the crypto enthusiasts, and the experience has to speak to them all, not dumb it down so much that that the crypto fans don't like it, but it's holding hands for people to understand, where's my wallet? Where does this NFT go? What can I do with it after I could buy it in a credit card, I could buy it with debit, I can buy it with my crypto. What happens next is critical.
Mm-hmm. So I guess like you would say like community is like the number one thing, the number one priority for it.
It'll live and die. Yeah, it lives and die. These projects live and die by the community. So that's why, we work with a lot of emerging leagues. Like I talked about, underrepresented, underserved, under-resourced really is kind of our bread and butter, whether it's women's sports or international leagues that people may not think of, that are kind of understaffed. We're an out-of-the-box solution where we come not only with the platform of this marketplace, the ability to design it custom to your brand, but like the managed services and community building aspect of it is part of what we do. And that's one of the biggest selling points is some of these emerging leagues know that they can't hire a community manager, or they can't support with their social media manager to this community. And we offer those services because we know how critical it is. So making that announcement of this project, building a roadmap for the project, getting fans to understand when this thing launches, why it's going to be important, and what they're going to be able to do with it is super critical. And then you hit that critical mass within the community where it's kind of a self-serving community. You have your super fans that are becoming your moderators, and just as any kind of gaming Discord happens. So yeah, I think these projects, if they want to be sustainable, yeah, you can make money out of the gate, but if you want it to be sustainable, you have to let the community have a hand in building it.
I think that later on, one of the things that I think might happen is that it's gonna have gaming DAOs to where there's like for sports fans.
Yeah.
And literally it's just like basically it's just their entire community just all together, right? Like each one of them owns an NFT that allows them access to a Discord that potentially, be created as like an experience too, like have, the players be on there and be able to interact with them and kind of be like hey, look, this is what we're gonna want. This is like the types of collectibles we think the audience would like, and just creating more experiences by talking to the players directly and being able to have that interconnection with them.
Yeah, it's critical. They need to have ownership. That's what NFTs are, right? They need to feel like they have that true ownership of what they bought into and decision making power. So if our activation with Glory Kickboxing, using the community example, is like, can they have decision making power in how fights are, how the fight matchups are made, like who fights who in the next fight card. But you can duplicate that for any sport, any league. Like where can they make decisions? Can it be Dapper and the NFL community is really strong right now. They haven't launched the product yet, but they do a good job of getting into the community and saying, on a game night, what moments from that game do you want to be seen as NFTs? Which ones should we mint? Because you can mint 100 NFTs from any game, probably. So getting those fans to give feedback on that's the moment I would buy. Put that in a pack and get them bought in. That's what's going to make these projects stand out.
Yeah, and I think like also for like a lot of collectibles too, it's like over the years they are, some of the items are physical, some of them are digital, some of them might have a physical and digital representation. And I think that, over time the industry is just going to grow even further, especially like, imagine if you had like a Kobe Bryant NFT that allowed you to, let's say like, you use it and then you're able to meet him and stuff. At those times and like things like that, like those memorabilia items, like, hey, look, these are connected to, his game winning ticket. A ticket in the past, it's like his game winning and it shows his moments and everything. I think that would have been something that like a lot of fans would have really wanted. And, like we didn't know when tragedy strikes, but being able to have those moments with him as well. Another area. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the real world utility. Again, I said it earlier. It's like it's as creative as you can possibly get. The NFTs are a ticket to a club. It is the NFT parts the velvet rope. It's what is inside of that club. It's up to the league. It's up to a platform like us to get as creative as they can. Can it unlock the meet and greet? Can it unlock any experience really?
Yeah, and I think that like with that too, it's like since everything's on the blockchain, you can see who your fans are. Like you can literally see, oh, this fan has purchased 10 of the NFTs. Like this one has 5, this one has 4, and you can kind of do like catered exclusive drops for those. Like for example, like we're going to be releasing out this pack that's going to be exclusible, but you guys, whoever has like 10 of our NFTs, are able to purchase it a day earlier, or creating those perks.
Yeah.
I think like with those perks, like that would be obviously just like crazy, just having that access.
And those are the conversations we're having. I said like maybe an NBA Top Shot execution may not make sense for every league, but NFTs of execution of some kind can make sense. And a lot of conversations we're having with leagues is taking their membership and loyalty program onto the blockchain. So instead of, if you pay a monthly fee to just get a exclusive content, like let's move the entire loyalty program onto the blockchain. You get a member NFT, and you can see how each one of your members engages. Is that member also a season ticket holder? Well, they should get something. They should get a higher tier of custom content or a higher tier of access. So you can actually create a leaderboard from your entire membership program and say, and see who's the most engaged of your fans, and service your core fans with something super exclusive, and just kind of have a tiered system. Okay, they've bought into 10 of these NFTs, so they're going to get X, Y, and Z. This person just bought their first NFT. That's awesome. We want to incentivize them to buy more. We're going to give them this. So, I think there's a lot of cool NFT plays and blockchain at large for leagues to take a lot of their business. We talked about ticketing. That will eventually be on the blockchain for sure. But take portions of their business and putting them onto the blockchain.
Yeah, I think that within the next 2 years or so, it's going to boom, and especially with all the collectibles that are coming out, especially with all the teams that are being, like all the different types of sports as well. So we're kind of like wrapping up to kind of like the final moments of this panel, and kind of wanted to see like for the finishing touches, like where's your thoughts on like where the future of basically like the fan bases of NFTs for sports are going to be within the next, I would say, like 2 years.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because it is right now we're just in this education phase. We're taking all of these fans that aren't crypto natives, that aren't NFT enthusiasts, and we're getting them into Web3 for the first time. We are getting them onboarded with a wallet. We are getting them to understand that, okay, I don't need to pay with Ethereum. I can just use my debit and credit card, but I am bought into the blockchain. So that's going to be, I think the next year is critical as so many people are in building phase right now. So many leagues are going to come out. We think that we have a really cool stable of projects that are going to come out, and we love what we've built. But tomorrow there's going to be an announcement of somebody else doing something, and we'll say, wow, that's really cool. It's amazing time to just see these new projects come out. But it's all for good, because it's going to take all of these sports fans that may not be techno savvy or crypto savvy, and it's just going to get them into Web3. It's going to get them to understand why NFTs hold value for them. And once they start seeing that value pay off, then they're going to really lean in. And I think there's going to be next level engagement. I think people are dipping their toes in now, even though, Sorare is pushing a ton of volume and making great money and the top shots of the world. I still think people are dipping their toes in. Once you get, Glory's big in the Netherlands. Our kickboxing league's big in the Netherlands, and they aren't super NFT savvy yet. So but they're rabid about the sport. It's the NFL to them. The fighters there are the Tom Brady's of Holland, right? And so they're going to support that however they can, and that's going to be through NFTs. So I think the next year is going to be critical to get ease of use nailed, because it still is sticky, or there's still a lot of friction around there. But getting all of these non-endemic NFT fans to understand the value of an NFT, once that happens, the sky's the limit. How creative can you get? Because now you have an entire world incentivized and understanding what an NFT is.
Well, thank you, Cody, for sharing your insights, and for everyone listening as well. Cody, how would they be able to find you?
You can check us out on Fandem.com. You can find me, Cody Cheshier, on LinkedIn, Cody Cheshier on Twitter. Reach out, ask questions, and look forward to seeing what's built and continuing to build.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Cody, for being on here today.
Thanks, Michael.